Welcome back, everybody, and today we are doing a tomato review on the Tiny Tim tomato. And here it is right here. As you can see, I can't bring it too close, but as you can see, it's quite a short variety of tomato. It's pretty small. Now, this is considered a dwarf tomato. Some people refer to those as patio tomatoes. Others may refer to it in the more of the business side of tomato agriculture would be considered a bush tomato. Nonetheless, this tomato plant generally doesn't get too much larger than somewhere around 2 feet tall. So a lot claim a lot smaller. My plant is probably about 2 feet tall now if you were to extend it all the way up. So it's about 2 feet tall, but generally it doesn't get bigger than that. This plant has never seen sunlight, so it's never really had a real good chance to produce because I grew it all winter. Now I'm going to bring it out for the summer and we'll see if we can keep it growing, but there's no guarantee being it's a determinate tomato. Now that's what I've been reading as of just recently. I'm going to do a little more research on this and find out if it's maybe a semi-determinate tomato, which it might be. And I'm going to look up whatever kind of history I can on it. At this point right now, I don't have the time to actually do all the research on it. But whatever information I can find about this tomato will be in the description below. And you'll be able to find out whatever I was able to gather on the Tiny Tim tomato. But just for the sake of the video, doing the taste test, we'll get to that another time. So it's a pretty good producer, this tomato. This plant, like I said, has been growing indoors under lights for the last 6 months, roughly. And it's producing tomatoes. It's had tomatoes on here for now for about maybe 2 to 3 weeks that are ripe, that have been sitting there. I've been really letting them ripen up. I was hoping that some more were going to ripen up, but this plant really needs to go outside because it's been indoors a little bit too long and there's just no air circulation and it needs to go outdoors. So, what are some of the facts on it? Well, it's considered a determinate tomato, but I'm kind of more or less leaning to what is also referred to as a semi-determinate tomato. Until I can get this thing out into the sunlight, I can't really see what its full potential is, so we'll have to see. But it is considered a determinate tomato for the most part. But again, I'm leaning towards semi-determinate. What else we got here? It's considered an early producer. Right now we are roughly April 10th or something like that. And as you can see, I got tomatoes on it already. Yeah, it's been growing for 6 months, but it's been growing for 6 months under 80 watts of light. So it's really not going to grow very much at all. I mean, you put this thing in regular sunlight and grow it out, you're going to get a lot more tomatoes and everything. But what else about this thing here? Let's see. It's a regular leaf. It's a Solanum lycopersicum. And let's see if there's anything on here. It says some of the websites are saying that they can get up to 15 inches tall. I find that they can get even taller than that a little bit, maybe 2 feet. They're generally not a viney tomato. It's a bush tomato. So what we'll do is we'll pick a few of these. I'll give you some close-ups of the tomatoes themselves. I'll cut a couple of them open, and then we'll do a taste test, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we removed the tomatoes, and now we are going to give you a closer look at the tomato itself. Kind of hard to do it this way with these tomato reviews. You can see it's a small little red tomato. Kind of hard to do this way. That's why I do my tomato reviews the other way, because I can give you all the angles and without having to reset the camera. But that's basically what it looks like. And just give you a snapshot of one of them cut. And I'll just include a couple of images at the end of the video if you want to see better, clearer snapshots of it. I mean, for me to do tomato reviews this way are kind of difficult, so we'll include the snapshots at the end of the video, and you could just scroll to the end and see better, much clearer, much better shots of it. So anyway, let's start with this tomato. Let's give it a go. Tough skins. It's got tough skins on it. But again, I'm growing these indoors, so you got to take that into consideration. Let me try this other half. There's almost no flavor on that first half. Yeah, tough skins on it. I have to remove the skins. It has a very tomatoey flavor. It has a nice, rich tomatoey flavor. Very low on the sweetness so far. It could just be that one tomato. Very, very low. But it had like a, you know, the acidy side of it, I would probably say, if I was to put a number on that, I'd say the acidity side was probably like a 30, 35, somewhere in there. Sweetness was maybe a 10. I mean, there was almost no sweetness on it. The texture of it was kind of creamy a little bit. Not a big deal, but it was kind of creamy a little. And it had a nice tomato flavor, though. So after you eat it, you get the sweetness and the tartness kind of work its thing on your tongue. Then when you swallow it, usually there's an aftertaste that follows. That's that tomatoey aftertaste that I'm usually talking about. And it had a nice tomatoey type of aftertaste that sticks around a little bit. But again, it wasn't very sweet, and it wasn't very, it was creamy. I don't personally like creamy tomatoes, but that could be because I was really letting these tomatoes really ripen a lot longer than they should have been, maybe, on the vine. We'll try another one. Hopefully this one tastes a little better. Let's give it a go. Tough skins. I can't sit here and chew the skins up because I'm doing the video, so I have to take the skins out of my mouth. But skins are tough. The inside just basically turns to a mush immediately, and then you're left with the skin. That could be a good thing if you're trying to make like a sauce, or if you're making a salsa, or if you're making tomato soup or anything like that. That'd be a good thing because it dissolves really easily in those conditions. But as of right now, I would definitely say the flavor of the tomato is probably the biggest, you know, pronunciation in the tomato flavor itself. The sweetness was really low. The tangy wasn't overwhelmingly tangy, but without a little bit of sweetness to kind of contrast that a little bit. It's just kind of awkward. And that chalky effect, I didn't really care for that either. I'll be right back. I am going to get my bricks meter and we'll test it on the bricks. Alright, so let's see what it says on the bricks. A lot of seeds. A lot of seeds. It says it's about 9+ on the bricks, which is good actually, but it's not. I don't taste the. I'm personally not tasting the sweetness on it, so it could be more minerals in it than sweetness, because that meter basically is just showing you how much suspension of whatever it is in that juice, rather than just being sugar, or it's just telling you everything that's in there. It's just giving you a general reading. So for cherry tomatoes, you generally want to see like a 9, 10, 12, you know, that high. You want to see them up in that range. But this tomato is registering 9, so it's sort of on the lower end of the cherry tomatoes. And it's not bad. Again, this plant has to see sunlight. It hasn't seen sunlight since it was born, basically. So once we get this out into the sun, maybe the flavor will increase a little bit. But as of right now, growing them indoors, it's a little hard to get really, really good tasting tomatoes. You really need that full spectrum sunlight to really bring that flavor up. Tomatoes really got to come out really quick and form. And it's just taking forever for these tomatoes to ripen. But I do recommend growing this tomato plant as an option for winter tomatoes if you can't get anything else, and all you can get from the stores or store commercial tomatoes. This is one of your options. A bush tomato is very easy to grow indoors. You just got to water it all the time, and You got to make sure that you're taking care of it. It's less likely to get blight diseases because it's indoors, so it's less likely to get blight, and it should last you the whole season, and for the summer season, so it should last you a full year, as opposed to most tomato plants only last a few months. This one should last you much longer because you're bringing it in for the winter, and or growing it through the winter like I did, and then bringing it out for the summer to get better tomatoes, better flavored tomatoes. So unfortunately, until I can get this plant into direct sunlight, the review is kind of, maybe I'll review this again at the end of summer and see if the tomatoes changed in flavor. We can do that, but as of right now, this is a tomato review for the Tiny Tim on the indoors, growing it under roughly 80 or 90 watts of 6,500 Kelvin, and that's basically what it's been growing under since it was basically sprouted. So not much more to say about it. Like I say, whatever details I dig up on the internet on the Tiny Tim tomato, I will put that all in the description. And I will offer seed for this at the end of the year, or maybe mid-season I can offer seed for this early, because you can see that I'm already getting tomatoes. And hopefully this thing will put out more tomatoes as the summer goes on. And you can see right here, there's more flowers coming off of it. Here. It's already got some shoots coming off the bottoms over here. A couple shoots coming off there. So it's probably going to get bushy. And it's going to make more tomatoes. So I don't think, because I grew it through the winter for 6 months, is going to shorten its life, being it's a determinate tomato. I think because it's more or less probably a semi-determinate tomato. It will live longer if you extend its life, so to speak. So we'll have to see how that goes. And look forward to the second review on this tomato towards the end of the year. We'll wait till this thing really produces tomatoes, and then we'll do it again. And we'll give you a better review on it once it's in the sunlight, and I can give it regular watering and stuff like that. So we'll see if that flavor changes a little bit. If not, then generally that's the way the tomato is going to taste. So anyway, that was your tomato review for the Tiny Tim tomato. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.